Welcome, and here is a little tour of pictures that are mostly from the 1850s. Now these are all really old, and some of the earliest photographs we have of any of these major cities. Right now we're in Helsinki, Finland, and what's remarkable about most of these photographs is the lack of people in these major cities. Now the cities are fully built out. It seems they couldn't pack any more homes and buildings, and yet they are void. They are pretty much completely void of people and activities. Many of the ports that we see are empty. There's no boats on them. There's no carriages. So this is really mysterious. Here we have some people. We see a dog and some horses in the background. But still, when you look at the scale of the city... Now here's a picture from the early 1900s. Now here we do see a crowd of people. Now this looks, rather normal. What is unusual about this is the wear on the wall. This is apparently a brand new city, a new capital city, and yet the wear on the wall, what happened to that wall? This, either it's built on top of something older, or some kind of cataclysm that really weathered that wall and seemed to preserve anything that was any higher than it. So really fascinating. We find this all over the world. The next photo here that we're going to see is in Finland. We see a very similar situation of completely void of people, and it's just an absolute mystery. Beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture, clearly seems, I wouldn't say old, but aged. I mean, these cities don't look completely brand new, and yet it's as if they are brand new. When we don't see any people, I mean, can you imagine, what it would take to clear out all the people? I mean, I don't even know if that would be possible. I mean, you would get some people that would disobey, and I don't know. Maybe that's what we're seeing here when we do occasionally see somebody, but really interesting, because a lot of these cities were, just getting into their prime around this time period, and yet we don't see anybody. Now this is a photo, if you were to leave your shutter open, this is what you would expect. You see the people, you see shuffling, even though they are really not that many in that picture, but still, that gives you an idea of what an open shutter photo would look like. You would still see blurry images, similar as if you were taking headlights at night. You have those streaks. So here again in Finland we see a completely empty port, and even the windmills aren't spinning. I mean, it's this complete frozen scenario. And it's a real mystery. Again, look at the empty ports here. And later on in the video, I'll show you some pictures in the Americas, in North America. And I'd noticed similar things, with the building of the Washington, D.C. It doesn't seem like there's any people around. It's very, very strange. Now here's Venice, Italy. And again, where is everyone? Just a couple boats? These areas should be bustling with people. Here's the Czech Republic, Prague, and it's as if these are model cities. Now later on in the video, what I will show is a similar scenario in China, where they actually have built entire cities and there's nobody living there. They have freeways, 6 lanes on each side, not a single car on them. And it leaves a lot of speculation to be had. And here's Madrid, Spain. Similar, empty roads, clean and smooth roads, and yet no people. I mean, a city of, even in that time period, I mean, these cities should have housed at least 500,000 people. Same scenario in Amsterdam. Very bleak. I mean, for the grand scale of building, there should be people everywhere. I mean, absolutely everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. Really, really strange. Really, really creepy. I mean, I really don't want to speculate too much in this video. I really want to leave it up to you. But, the most speculating I want to do is in the title. But this is as if it's day one. Or day one for us. There's clearly a few hundred years of building in these towns. I mean, this isn't your modern neighborhood building, your cookie cutter. I mean, this is grand architecture. Absolutely grand. And yet to be devoid of people, and not just in one country, but worldwide. And these pictures are nothing. I mean, this is just a little scratch, tiny little scratch on the surface. Paris, France, I mean, in this time period, in the 1850s, still an absolutely bustling city, and yet not a boat, not a person, just a complete ghost town, as if a bomb went off. Really, really interesting. Now, here is St. Petersburg in Russia. In St. Petersburg, I think, again, if we were to look at history, I mean, this was poor, poor people in this time period. I mean, barely able to eat. And when we see the city in the 1850s, again, devoid of people, as if this city has been abandoned. I mean, in this time period, to be so poor and have this kind of architecture and in a grand scale. And what we notice with a lot of these pictures is, mud on the sides of the building, as we can see on the bottom left corner here. So, what can we conclude? Were we the inheritors of a prior civilization? It sure seems like the architecture all around the world is very similar in this Greek Romanesque style, and yet it's found from corner to corner, as if these were a similar people, a worldwide people, and somehow there was a wiping out. We see the mud floods and damage from heavy water, and the pictures we do see with people, it's as if they've just been introduced. Nobody's in any hurry to go anywhere. They're just standing around in awe, and as if these people have been introduced into this area. As if they've just inherited these great cities. And by the 1900s, things are pretty well populated. Here in the 1850s in Mexico City, same scenario. Just a mess. A mess and no people. Streets are filled with dirt, overgrown. And again, even in Mexico, this architecture, this highly advanced architecture, and here in this picture, a water aqueduct. And here in Washington, D.C., same scenario. As if we just walked into this. We inherited something. And really, there's very little proof before the camera in the picture. And our pictures begin around this time. This appears to be the beginning of our time, as far as anyone can prove. This seems like the beginning of our history. Anything else is just a story. But even this, 150 years ago, we really don't know. Even with the proof of the photograph, there is no proof. There's more mystery. Here we can see the port of Montreal, bleak, void, and yet the grand architecture, once again. Who built all this? Now we have stories, of course. Supposedly all this is known. But yet something doesn't seem to fit the narrative. Now there were great plagues, and great plagues wiped out half of Europe, and there were great fires, and much destruction in this time period. But what if it was all the same thing? What if it all happened at once? A complete wiping out. And of course, this is only theorizing. I have no idea. Another alternative is that they were built. They were built before any people ever came. And then they were populated. Now this idea would seem ridiculous. It would absolutely seem ridiculous if it weren't already being done today. Today China is building dozens of cities that can house millions of people. And yet nobody lives in these cities. The amount of money and resources that it would take. And yet somebody in their leadership seems perfectly justified in building cities long before anybody will occupy them. And maybe this is what we're seeing here. Maybe somebody knows, and they're awaiting the right time. Maybe they're lucky ones. Maybe it won't even be called China then, and a whole new history will be written. Maybe. We really don't know. Well, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Have a blessed day.